We are, this Hangout on air is live. Yay! So, thanks for joining us. I'm Jen Sheffer from Burlington, Massachusetts. I'm the Massachusetts Google Educator Group leader, and I'm going to hopefully speak as little as possible. We are totally unexpected here to have some international folks. We've gone global, which is pretty cool. That's the power of Google for you. But I did post updated links to the live Hangout on the event page. Hopefully everybody can access that. If not, you'll watch this, the archive on the YouTube channel. So we have sort of really the leader for tonight's second on-air event is Audra Kaplan. I'm going to let her introduce herself as well as Jeannie Erickson. So I'm going to jump over to Audra to allow you to introduce yourself to our viewers.
Hi, I'm Audra Kaplan. I'm a technology integration specialist here in Massachusetts. I work at Groton Dunstable Regional High School. And this is Jeannie and my debut live streaming PD. So we're pretty excited.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's my, I don't know, 15th or 16th, and I still mess it up. So thanks for your patience, everyone. Jeannie, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. Yes, I'm Jeannie Erickson, and I work with Audra at Groton Dunstable Regional High School in Groton, Massachusetts, and I actually teach psychology and human development and some other courses, and have been using the timeline and getting to understand it a lot better since Audra and I have been trying to share it with others. So I'm happy to be here.
Great. I'd also like to allow Maria, if you could introduce yourself, tell us where you're coming from, and give a shout out.
Yeah, I'm Maria Person, and I haven't put a little banner because I didn't remember how to do that. Anyway, but I'm in New Zealand. I work for the University of Waikato, and I'm actually a senior tutor. I help students on their career paths, and my heart is teaching because I'm first and foremost a teacher, but I love the tech, and so I think it keeps me grounded, and I just love learning about new things. And I had to play with Timeline, and I thought, wow, this is a really powerful tool, and anything that embeds a number of different kinds of digital objects to me is always quite powerful because it gives a lot more opportunity for students to reflect and engage with their own learning and different ways of working. So I'm really keen to just hear what you guys have got to say.
Thank you so much for being here. Jeremy.
My name is Jeremy Collins. I work in Denver Public Schools. I'm a technology specialist, recovering social studies teacher for 5 years. I just love it. I just remembered to hang out with tonight and actually just looked at the website. I'm really excited because I work for an international school and they could use a lot of the visual stuff and all that stuff. So I'm really excited for that.
Great, and it looks like Laura just jumped in. Hi, Laura.
Hi, guys.
How are you? We just did some quick introductions. If you wanted to just say hello and tell us where you're coming from, that would be great.
I am coming from Johnson.
Your audio cut out a little bit for me. I don't know if it did for anybody else.
It did.
Would you mind repeating that real quick?
Sure. I said I'm from Lake Placid, New York, and I'm going to give Jeremy a shout out because I went to school in Johnson.
Oh, we just lost.
All right. Well,
somebody.
We have some Red Sox and some Yankees fans in the same hangout, and I will forgive you in advance for that. I'm kidding. I'm not not a baseball fan, but so I'm gonna really just turn everything over to Audra. It looks like Jeannie may have had some technical difficulties, but Audra, I know that you are really the guru when it comes to timeline. I remember seeing, I think it was mid-August, mid to late August. Oh, she's back, I hope. Great. I remember seeing this promoted, this timeline tool promoted in various Google Plus communities, and it seemed like a lot of Google trainers were enthusiastic about it. So could you, just for the GEG Massachusetts folks and just really worldwide, how, from your perspective, how does this tool connect with Google, or how is it relevant for a Google user or a Google enthusiast from your perspective?
Well, the main connection is that you use Google Sheets. You use a template from NightLab, and there's, I guess, some coding scripts in the background that cause your data to turn into the interactive timeline.
Right, and then from there you can just, the magic happens, really. It starts with the sheet, and that's the foundation, and then that's the beauty of Google, I would say, right?
Yes.
All right, so I guess how this is going to work, jump in at any time because you're kind of the leader. So you're going to start off by sharing your screen with the audience and just kind of walking everybody through.
Yes.
All right, fantastic.
Yep. What I'd like to do is Jeannie and I put together a web page, so I'd like to share that with you, so show you how to navigate through that, and then we're going to share a couple examples, some from her classroom, some that I put together. And after we do that, we'll take a look at NightLab's page, which is a great resource to have. It literally walks you through step by step, and then from there we'll try to build a timeline.
Cool.
Perfect.
Okay, so here we go.
Getting geeky. Here we go.
Whoa!
Okay.
That was psychedelic.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it does that. That's not the first time, but can everybody see the timelinepd.weebly page?
Crystal clear.
Okay, you might want to remember that and bookmark it.
Yeah, I can post the link to this, Audra, too.
Yes, please.
In the GEG community. So you made this site with Weebly?
Yes. So
okay.
The Weebly site, and I'll just walk you through our pages. Again, this and the NightLab site will be good resources to go back to. So on the home page, there's a direct link right to NightLab and some information about them. It's not too exciting, but it'll, information about it. The examples we'll come back to. We have several that we've put together, and you're welcome to look at any of those. You'll see some on NightLab's page as well. On the resources page, we have some items here. We did run into a couple glitches. We found some workarounds that work for us, and we'll get to those as we build our own timeline, but I wanted to add some of those here for your reference. Imgur is a site that I use a lot. Not sure if you're familiar with that. I learned about it from a student, and it allows me to create URLs for images from my computer and to host images so that I have the proper link that works with NightLab, because not all image links work, and we'll talk a little bit about that. YouTube and Vimeo will work. You can add audio, which I actually haven't played with yet, but NightLab has great resources, again, to walk you through, and they're very responsive to questions if you have them. And PagePeeker is another thing that you'll learn about through this. I also have some contact information here, Jeannie and I, if you need that. And on our activity page, another link to Timeline, a template, but we're going to use theirs, not mine, and we will get started. So I'm going to go to the NightLab page from our home page.
Audra, real quick, I'm just going to ask everyone who's watching live if we could all maybe mute our mics.
Okay.
That way, not you, obviously, Audra. We want to be able to. That would be bad.
And I actually jumped a little ahead of myself, so I'm going to ask Jeannie to share her screen. And she's going to share a couple examples, and then I'll come back and show one of mine.
All right. I'll unmute myself. And all right, you see me okay? Got my screen. Are you seeing everything the way you should, Audra?
I'm seeing me on my screen, but I can see your screen below, so I'm good if everybody else is okay.
All right, so again, like she mentioned, we can open up the timeline. I thought I had it open somewhere else, but I'm going to start with our Peru one because I do have that one. Okay, so this is one I just used so I could learn how to use it or to reinforce the learning. And Audra and I are taking a group of students to Peru for a service learning. And so this, just quickly going through here, these were some of the events that we've had so far and that we'll continue to. You can see that they're posted down here as well. So in the interest of time, if I want to jump ahead quicker, I can post, jump on an event down here. This is an embedded YouTube video of Audra's daughter. We had a kickoff meeting and she made Peruvian energy bars, and the how-to video is here. So this is that particular one. I'm going to flip to the personality timeline. This is one that I do with my psychology students. It could be used for any kind of a history project, and I'm using this with permission from the student that made it. But basically, in psychology, we have them do a personality timeline and kind of look at their family tree as well, and to determine, different aspects of their personality and how it might have developed. Going forward, I also teach human development, and I'm thinking that I'm going to have the students collectively make a timeline that will take, basically from the womb to tomb, kind of a timeline of actual development and key factors that occur during our lifespan. So those are basically the ways I've used it, and I'm gonna, is there any questions, or should I just let you go back here?
That's just so cool that the students are making it so personal.
Yeah.
You think timeline and you think, oh, the history of XYZ, the history of the internet, and, I'm looking at things that happened in 1981. That's historical to students now when it comes to technology. Right. But the way that example is great.
Yeah, and actually the student example that I showed you, I did not even know how to do it at that point. So she was able to, she was high on the tech savvy scale, but she was able to figure it all out and work through the glitches on her own and did a great job. So
yeah, it's impressive to see the tech, but it's really impressive to see that content,
right?
What the timeline itself is based on. So Audra, looks like she's cutting in and out. She'll jump back in, I'm sure. So
all right. I'm going to share another example.
Great.
And then we'll look at timeline. I don't know why that does that. So Jeannie mentioned having her students work on a collaborative project, and I also worked with our sociology teacher, and they were working on an assimilation project. And one of the other really nice things about this software that I like is you can have up to 7 tags. So the kids focused on different ethnic groups, and she was able to take their spreadsheets and just copy and paste the information into one master file and then create this timeline.
Oh,
wow. So again, you can scroll through this way, just looking for some overlap. You can drag it over. Just want to find a spot where they kind of overlap a little, but you kind of get the idea. So this is a pretty cool one too. And then that hits, I think, most of the options that I wanted to share with you. Any questions so far?
I think we're ready to see how to build one.
Now I'm going to go home.
Can I ask one question?
Absolutely.
I'm thinking the potential, I've got some master's students that I'm working with, and we're talking about assessment, and the online environment in terms of assessment can be a bit tricky. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering, have you potentially used this in terms of assessing it, and how did you create, I suppose, the rubric or the criteria around something like timeline, which can be quite complex and quite deep, mm-hmm. so that you're not marking forever, because that's the reality as well. Have any of you experienced using it as an assessment tool, I suppose like an e-portfolio, really?
Oh, it's a great idea, though.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'll take credit for that.
Okay.
Yeah, are there rubrics, Audra? Have you or Jeannie created scoring?
I actually, my rubric for the project, for example, the psychology thing, originally it's not required that they use this tool to make the timeline. So the rubric is more centered on, do they follow the other aspects of why I'm having them create a timeline and how they process the information that they learned by creating it into kind of a synthesis of their personality and how it might have formed. So the rubric doesn't really, this tool has been for their use, but some kids are still using paper and pictures and glue and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's all good. I was wondering, because you could always add some kind of, can you add docs? You said you could do Google Sheets, but can you add a Google Doc?
Google Sheets are actually what build the timeline.
Oh, I see.
Right. So we'll take a look at that part right now. I'm not sure about adding docs, but I can look into that and find out.
Cool.
Can you add HTML? Because with the new Google Sheets, can't you embed HTML actually into the sheet?
I've played with that a little. I think if you want, they do have some HTML built into the spreadsheet, and I've tried to follow their prompts because that's not really my thing. But I would explore with it because I've seen some in the you'll see some in the example they actually share.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Sure. All right. So back to.
So Audra, you're going to actually walk us through the process of setting this up now.
So I'm going to go to
make one together.
Well, yep, in a couple minutes we'll do that if you'd like. We'll have everybody create their own. So their website is timeline.nightlab.com. And if you just scroll through this page, you'll see an example of a timeline, just like we did. And all of their examples reference and explain and link to ways to add those elements. So for example, if you want to see how they add a YouTube, you can go to the YouTube link here, and it tells you just add that into the media field, no embedding necessary. If you continue to scroll down, it talks a little bit about how it works, and it provides these 4 steps. And if you literally just read through this and follow it, it'll walk you through everything. You don't need to do that because we're going to do it together in a minute. But you will have to come here because you need to enter a URL into this to get your actual interactive timeline. You can modify how it displays. I've used the defaults. I haven't really done anything with the height and the size and different fonts, but you can do that.
Audra, would you say this is intuitive for a
beginner who hasn't done this? Again, if you follow this carefully, I think you'd be fine. Okay. One of the issues I've had, and Jeannie could confirm this, is with images. If you don't use it, it doesn't work with all web images. So you can't use an image in Google Drive unless you download it to your computer and then use something like Imgur.
Mm-hmm. I've used Imgur, and I uploaded all my pictures before I even started my timeline, and it's real simple to grab the link to put into the spreadsheet. So I recommend that. It saved me a lot of trouble after I learned to use that.
And Timeline also provides their own examples, which you could take a look at. And they also have a decent help section down here. So a lot of the questions you have, can I use an Express? No, I don't know about. I was wondering if they had a document answer on here, but I don't see that at a quick glance.
Now, what did your students think of this, Jeannie or Audra? Were those examples helpful for them? Did they motivate the students to say, yeah, this looks neat or challenging, I want to try this? I'm thinking of my own students who are learning the basics of WordPress. I'm thinking, they handle this?
My students are typically
those digital natives that we work with every day.
I was just going to say that for me, the key thing, I did it last year with my students, but now I really know it myself, and I would have Audra come in and demo for them. And I think that the fact that I now really know how to do it, they'll be more willing to try it because I'll be around more to, you know. And I was a little nervous about it until I learned it myself. But
it looks like something that would lend itself well to building collaboratively.
Yes, I'm anxious to try that. I think that'll be interesting to do.
Okay, so let's, is everyone on timeline.nightlab.com?
Yep.
I'm watching you.
So you don't have to do this now. You could watch along or you can try
I'm not doing this homework assignment, Audra.
I'm trying it.
Google spreadsheet template. Just click on that link right there, number 1.
Jeremy, you're an overachiever.
And we're going to click on use this template in a minute, but Jeremy, if you see here, there's some HTML code here in the media caption.
Yeah, I saw that. I was actually going to try a document and pull pictures in and see if I can do it that way, see if I can cheat the system.
Yeah. So we're going to click on use the template, and it puts a copy in your drive. I have lots of copy of Timeline JS templates, so I'm going to be creative and name that test Timeline JS template. One thing I suggest, well, a couple things to note. Row 1, you do not want to change this row. Any changes to this, your interactive timeline link is not going to work. Another issue we found, which, you know, user error, not really the software, but your dates need to, they don't need to be sequential here, but your start date here in A2 should definitely be before any of these other dates. And your end date should be after your start date. I'm saying this because when I've worked with others, and myself included, I may have inadvertently put a date in the wrong spot, and then you go to publish your file and you see nothing. And it wasn't until I realized that you needed to be very careful with those dates that that was actually the issue. So you want to make sure that, again, row 1, you don't change this at all. And there are only 2 columns that are required. The first is the start date, and the other is your headline. If you hover over, like I am, row 1, it tells you what's required in that particular field. Can be a link, YouTube, Vimeo, SoundCloud. I haven't tested all of these, but there are a lot of options. Okay. The type, you have the option for a title, an era, or to leave it blank. You have to have at least a title. And that's going to be the first thing people see when they click on your interactive link. And the tags here are what I mentioned with the assimilation project. We had the Native Americans, African Americans. So you can have up to 7 of these in a given timeline. And any questions about that so far?
I'm just trying it out.
Okay. So one thing I did, and I will continue to do, is for my title for now, and if you're following along, I would do this. I type in the names of the fields, mostly so visually I can see what's happening when I look at the interactive timeline, and I know where the things are going to appear.
So Audra, was everything already pre-loaded? So you're changing things that were preloaded?
Yeah, this is their template. So ultimately I'm going to change everything but row 1.
Oh, yep. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got that started. What I'm going to do next, and again, if you go back here, it's going to tell you make a copy of the spreadsheet. Now we're going to publish it. So I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet timeline up here, and I'm going to go to File, Publish to the Web. And I have the option to automatically republish when changes are made, which I like, because then any change is live. Right? And that's great for the kids, too, because they can send you the link, and then they're done with it. They can continue to work on it as much as they need to, and you will always see their most recent version. So I'm going to click on Start Publishing, and I'm going to click OK here. I want anyone in my district to see that. It provides this link when I do that. I need to copy this link. And I can close this, but because this is maybe new for some of you. I'd leave it open just in case. Sometimes the copy doesn't work. And then I scroll down to step 3. I'm going to paste in my link. Now, what's going to happen right now is nothing. I pasted in my link. This is going to change down here in step 4 when I hit enter. If I don't hit enter, nothing happens. So I paste my link in at step 3, I hit enter, and then I get a new link down here. If I was going to embed this on a site, I would copy this, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to click on link to preview.
Audra, does it embed on a WordPress site, do you know?
It should on WordPress, and it does on Weebly. It does not work on Google sites, unfortunately.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh.
I know.
Google, fix that.
So I have my spreadsheet here, and I have my live interactive timeline. Now, one thing, you don't have to do this, but I would highly suggest you bookmark this page or paste it somewhere you're not going to forget it. Worst case scenario, you have to go through this publish to get the information again. So here are their examples, because I haven't changed any of this yet, but now I have an interactive timeline. Right, here's an example of the audio. Now I can come in here and I can start modifying some of these fields. I'm actually going to get rid of rows 4 through 9. I'm not going to delete the type because I want this to keep its value. I'm just going to delete this stuff. And I'll put in a new date after this date. It doesn't matter when. I'm going to go with a month later, though. This is set at 2011. I'm just going to leave it at that. I can remove my end date. I don't need that. And we're going to add a web page. Let's add Night Lab. I actually spoke to the guy from Timeline yesterday, and I learned that this was actually created for journalists originally, and he was very excited to hear that educators were actually using it.
So I'm just looking at this thinking students could actually, if they're creating videos and if they're chronicling, you know,
Portfolio?
yes, that's like I'm thinking of my help desk students, their blog posts and their, you know, you said that what's the name of that site that you said makes a URL out of the images?
Imgur, I-M-G-U-R.
Okay. So Imgur, so they could start in September, you know, kind of building their timeline of what they're learning in your course.
Mm-hmm.
If they're creating, you know, various digital products, and this becomes like their digital portfolio.
Yep.
That's a great idea.
Teachers could also use it for the, at least here anyways, the new teacher evaluation tool might be a creative way to document. So many possibilities.
Definitely.
So I'm back here at Timeline's page, and I'm going to copy this link. And I'm going to use this link here for my media option. Enter a valid URL. I'm going to give credit to Timeline JS. Another thing I like about this is if students are using web sources, they can give the credit right to it as they're adding the image or the video.
Are the citations properly formatted, or is it just?
You would have to do that, or possibly make a page at the end. I know some teachers have actually had kids made separate Google Docs with their citations, and they just include that when they turn in the link.
If you have a public Google Doc, can that be an item in the timeline?
That was Jeremy was wondering that. I'm not sure.
I just tried it, and no, it's blank. I just tried it with publishing and making it public.
Okay.
Sadness.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe a presentation? Google slide presentation?
I think it has to be a YouTube right here. YouTube, Vimeo, SoundCloud, Dailymotion, Instagram,
Google Plus.
Google Plus status, Wikimedia, or an image.
But Instagram, that would be interesting.
Or scary.
Okay, so what I did here was I put in a website as my media, and what I'd like to do is see what that looks like. Where is it? Actually, it was the... Oh, I forgot to refresh. That's another thing you want to make sure you do.
Yeah, gotta refresh. Just gonna...
Okay, so here it is. So I put in a web link, not an image. And what happens is, in order to make this an image that is a link, it uses something called PagePeeker. I've referenced this on my webpage, on our webpage, under the resources. Are you familiar with PagePeeker? Anybody?
I am now.
I think that's a big no.
So if it's your website, chances are PagePeeker doesn't know about it, but if it's Google or NightLab, you know, things people are going to a lot, there probably is an image of that web page. So PagePeeker automatically populates it here. When I wanted to show my web page, it didn't populate. It just spins, and it says PagePeeker, and I get this spin, spin, spin. So I actually went to PagePeeker, had it take a picture of my website, and now when I reference that, it shows up as an image instead. So my point is that common sites and well-known sites probably already have a PagePeeker image, but Timeline can't. You can't put an image and a web link in this cell. Make sense? Okay. All right, so there's one option. And why don't we, just for fun, we'll call this, I'm going to put in NightLab again. And then let's go grab a YouTube video.
So I can make a timeline of the mass gig events that we have here.
You can.
Right, with the videos and images and...
Absolutely.
Cool.
So I'm just going to grab a YouTube video. And let's see, I don't know if this is live, or public rather. You can really grab any video you want. I'm looking for my daughter's. There
she is.
There she is. Am I public? I can make it public. So I would grab my video, copy the link, and then just add the information here. It's Turtle Dudette.
Audra, I'm just going to ask you another quick question. I'm assuming that these cannot be created on an iPad.
We had a little trouble with that on Saturday. I think if you definitely can see the interactive timeline. People were having trouble when they were accessing it through a browser. I didn't actually get to test it using the Sheets app, but I think it would work. I just have not yet tested that. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. I have some help desk students that I think would be very intrigued with this, and I would like to, they're pretty high level. Their skill is just beyond me, so I'd like to show them this and then maybe give them the challenge of, you know, test it on an iPad.
Yep.
See what happens. I think they would find it really interesting to build.
Yeah, I think they'd have a lot of fun with it. So what I have now is I've added my NightLab and my YouTube. I'm not sure why YouTube isn't showing up yet. Oh, because maybe I didn't hit enter. That'll do it. So now I have 2 tags, and I could see them in different bars across the bottom. Everybody good so far?
So I have a question. Does it only work with YouTube videos, or can it do a straight MP4? Because like my district pretty much blocks all of YouTube, so our kids couldn't even do that.
Vimeo works. I'm not sure about an MP if you can upload. I think as long as you have somewhere to host it and you have the URL.
Okay.
In theory, it should work.
Okay. Yeah, because YouTube's pretty much blocked in my district all the way through. Even education YouTube doesn't work half the time.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah, it is. There's so much on there to use.
MP4, I've kind of circumnavigated it.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to go to Google Images. And totally random. I like frogs and turtles. So I'm going to look for a frog and turtle picture. Oh, this one's cute. I'll just grab this one for now.
If you have if you have a second grader in your home, frogs and turtles are a prerequisite.
Yes.
To enjoy all species.
So here's the challenge. It's supposed to take JPEGs, PNG files, things that end with this extension. But my experience is that doesn't always work. So I'm going to try this one. I'm going to add my media link. Oops, twice. And I'm going to add this as a thumbnail as well because we didn't look at or talk about thumbnails yet. I want to make sure I credit my source. Oops. Come on. There we go. I'm going to use this for my citation at the moment. Plug that into my media credit. Enter my info. Hit enter, and we'll see what happens. Again, remembering to refresh. Sometimes you forget that. So here's the thumbnail. Here's where you see the thumbnail. If the link doesn't work properly, you'll get a broken, you get the picture that's broken. But this one worked fine. Got my Google. All right, that is a very cute picture.
You got that right. Audra, the tags again are?
You can have up to 7, and they give you this over here. So I don't know if you remember the example with the assimilation project where it was Native Americans,
okay.
Americans, or immigrants. So if kids are focusing on, I don't know, maybe they're story mapping, and maybe they're looking at characters from a book, and they want to have information or data about different characters, you can identify the characters over here. So that picture worked. Let's see if we can find one that doesn't. Of course, I won't now that I'm trying to. Go with turtle again. Okay. So let's pretend this image didn't work. And I'm going to show you Imgur. I'll put in a new date. New information. Media credit. I'll plug that in. This is going to be Google again. So let's say this doesn't work. I can look at imgur.com. And Jeannie, do you want to share anything about this?
Well, I think maybe I'll just talk and you navigate because I made an account because I can just host all my pictures there. But you basically have those choices that you can see. Either get an image off your computer, put the link, which is what Audra's going to do. You could drag it.
So I add that link, and then I get this down here. If it's going to work, you'll see this. If it doesn't work, you'll get a fail to upload kind of message. You want the one that ends in JPG. I've also found on occasion that if I just add .jpg to it, it works, but it doesn't always do that. So actually, that's what I would do with this one. I'd grab that, I'd come back in here, paste it in, and add .jpg. And let's see what happens. I'm going to grab this link too, see if there's a difference, and add that as the thumbnail.
How did you know, Audra, that that picture wasn't going to work?
I didn't. I just wanted to go through the steps to show you Imgur.
Oh, okay.
And a little overlap because they're close, and both of them did actually work. So this link worked, but you could also use Imgur, and like Jeannie said, she collected all of her images first.
And Instagram images work just by default, they work fine?
I actually haven't tried those yet.
Oh, okay.
So they may work. They're supposed to work according to the site. Any other questions so far?
So has anyone tried Google Plus Photos, like the photos? Because it's Google Plus Status, but I wonder if the photos works.
Have not tried that one, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, Maria was saying Flickr too. Flickr images.
Supposed to work. I've had a couple instances where it didn't, and I don't know if maybe they were private copyrighted images or something. Wikimedia images, when they start with upload dot as the URL, they work, but I've had those also sometimes not work.
If it is a copyright thing, I think that this is a good exercise in that too. Like Maria and I were kind of chatting a little bit on the side here about copyright. Sometimes it's an overlooked topic, and this might be a way to get students to understand that concept a little bit more. I like the idea of just taking their own images and using the Imgur. I think the students are going to find that really, really neat. I have not heard of that until we talked about this. So,
I'm just seeing the chat screen.
yeah, I think it would be a really cool tool for digital portfolios for students, and my only fear is the reality of showing this to the, like I said, the digital natives, and seeing how they respond to it. Did you have, and Jeannie, you said, what's your experience been like with this? You said you had students that were using, I'll just color I'll use paper and pen.
Well, and that was partly because of me. I wasn't, I'm confident now, and just using the website that we have created, I think walking them through just like Audra's walked you through, letting them do it while we do it, I think they'll become more. I tried to teach myself, and honestly, once I learned about Imgur, I could do it, but I was having so many troubles trying to get images and just hoping I could, just copy, paste, or drag. And once I learned about Imgur, then it seemed a lot easier because it was just, I was hung up on that. So I'm going to use the website that we've created and have kids do it right along, and then they can still have an option, but because there are other options out there, but I think they'll end up doing it, and then eventually maybe it'll be, a required, let's do that, because I'm always pushing something new on them, and often before I really know how to use it myself, and then, so.
I mean, this is hitting so many technology standards if we go back to the Massachusetts GEG and the technology standards, or our curriculum standards, this is hitting so many of them.
Yeah.
So again, if we think about purposeful technology and integrating it in a meaningful way, the content area, absolutely, but then the integration to like I said, hit those standards is important too.
And Jeannie's all about differentiated instruction. She usually gives the kids 4 or 5 different options around technology, right, with all of her projects.
Yep.
It's very cool.
And like you might want to start out small too, maybe saying, 5, sometimes these students need how many events do I need? Sometimes you say, I want you to build a presentation. How many slides and how long does it have to be? And we want to get away from that. We kind of want as many as you need to communicate the message or to meet the learning objectives. But until then, maybe starting out with something like create a timeline. I'm thinking about digital literacy and in my own curriculum, sort of, the history of Napster. They don't know what Napster even is. You say Napster, what is Napster? So who founded it, what year,
Metallica.
Yeah, right. So maybe, yeah, and I think that would be to use something like this too. I noticed that when you showed the samples in Timeline, I saw Madonna, and I thought music, and that resonates with everyone. All ages, so maybe to do something with music. Well, I think you'd have to pick a topic that the students would be motivated to pursue, and not, it looked a little intimidating to me, the timeline tool, I'm not going to lie, but I'm excited to try it.
One of the other really nice things about it is it's free. We've looked at other ones that we really liked, and over time a lot of them will suddenly start charging subscription fees, or you can only use it 2 times and then you have to pay for it. So
I've been having lots of conversations about colleagues about the whole open culture and sharing resources, and we like free.
yes.
So what else, Audra, do you want to show us? Does that
That's most of my experience with it are the things that I've shared.
Could you post a link to the website, to the Weebly?
Absolutely.
In the GEG?
Yep.
And I'll put the archive of this, well, obviously it's going to be on YouTube, but for folks to watch it. And that website is amazing. It looks very comprehensive and sort of has everything we need, soup to nuts, to get started. Or does it have the page peeker info in there as well as the Imgur? Okay.
It does. I'll show that to you one more time real quick if you'd like.
To understand that, am I correct in saying, so that sort of, if you have a high Google ranking, is that what that kind of does? It kind of makes an image out of your website if it's recognizable in the
page peeker?
Yes.
I believe that's how it works.
Okay.
Because I actually was doing a history of Google Timeline as well. I don't know if that's on my website, but it recognized Google, came up automatically, Nightlab came up automatically. And YouTube, it'll actually grab a picture of whatever that YouTube is you're embedding. Well, just like it would look on any embed. But like I said, my site, because it's not as popular as Google.
Well, it's going to be.
I had to go to PagePeeker myself and have them create the image.
Did you test this on a Chromebook?
Timeline?
Yes.
Yeah, it works on the Chromebook.
Okay, great.
I say I'm using Chromebook right now and it works fine. I have no issues.
Yeah. My students did Chromebooks.
I really hope it works on the iPad. I think gonna keep my fingers crossed. I think our history teachers would love this. I think our social studies department would really embrace this. I'm thinking foreign language. I think the sky's the limit with creativity and usage.
It really can be used in any discipline for so many things. We have a Women's History Month, and one of our teachers, she just brings in speakers and all these programs, and we have movie nights, and one of the examples on our Weebly page is of the events. It basically was a schedule of the events. So that could have been built in advance. I actually built it when I was learning how to use Timeline, but we could have built that in advance and shared that out
Very
to
cool.
the public for. I'm trying.
And we're hopefully getting approved to run my third iteration of the TED Ed Club, and the students that participated last year all have YouTube videos. So maybe we could make a timeline of, you know, TED at BHS. Maybe that could be one of their projects. And they have to do a screencasting project coming up.
Nice.
So maybe they could try screencasting if they learn this. I have one, you know, though you have those students that, you know, learn something in 5 minutes and then they've mastered it. So I have a couple students like that this year, so I might show them this and say, now that you know it, create a screencast and you know, teach your peers, and let's see what you can build. So this was great. Any other questions from Jeremy or
I'm still
Maria?
playing around with it.
Yeah, I want to give it to my students and let them play with it. And I think for me, like I said to Audra, this is intimidating. This is, I think, my third time seeing it. I'm still intimidated by it, but I'm going to try it. I like a challenge.
Yep.
I think I might try the YouTube videos of my TED students, and then I have images of them as well. Maybe try that and see if I can do it. Like Jeannie said, like as you build confidence in using a tool, then you can hopefully, you know, that confidence can grow within the students as well.
Yeah, it's made a huge difference just even preparing for these events. I feel really comfortable with it, and I can encourage my students more to use it.
What about colleagues? Are there other folks throughout Groton that have given it a try, or?
Yep, our sociology teacher, Jeannie. I'm helping out with an exploring computer science class. We're going to be using it in there.
I'm thinking of a couple science teachers too, off the top of my head, that like to experiment with things. So that's how you learn. You try and you hit refresh. You got to hit refresh. So I remember that.
And enter.
Don't forget to hit refresh.
Fresh and enter.
And enter.
And Sheets on the iPad works. I just tried it and tested it, and
Cool.
everything went through. So
That's good to know. That's very good to know.
Good.
Definitely.
Try that tomorrow.
Well, thank you for volunteering your time, effort, and energy into facilitating and, you know, really being the leader of this second virtual event. It was cool to do something, you know, geeked up, and I'm going to try it. I'm just going to throw caution to the wind and not be afraid and try. You know, if I fail, I'll just keep trying. So with that said, right, that's what we learn. That's how we learn. And it's so cool that, Maria, that you were able to be here.
Thank you. It's fun. It's kind of cool because I love these hangouts and don't often participate in them because I'm you know, sort of a bit afraid. Then it'll be public.
Yeah. I know. I completely relate. But I mean, this is neat to show students too that here we are, Massachusetts, New York, Jeremy.
Absolutely.
I'm in Denver, Colorado.
And New Zealand. Like,
yeah.
You know, the students are just. I was actually in a hangout last week with folks from Sweden and.
Cool.
You know, Nilo. I think Maria. We and he's in our GEG too. I still need some Hangout lessons from him, but it is so cool to show this to students, to show the connection and how we can, you know, share with each other our knowledge and everything. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Audra will hopefully be joining our next virtual event, just sort of to plug it. I'm hoping that our third meetup via a Hangout on Air will focus on supporting one-to-one environments through the use of student tech teams, because I know there's quite a few folks in Massachusetts who are doing that and who are partnering with their students to support the entire community with integrating technology. So I'm hoping to align with Connected Educator Month that we start to talk about how we can get our students to connect within our buildings and outside of our classroom and school walls through sort of being leaders in the community with integrating tech, because they're not afraid, right? Mm-hmm. Most of the kids aren't afraid to try these things. So
nope.
Thank you all for coming, and
Thank you.
It was great. Audra, again, I appreciate it immensely, and thanks for viewing either live or in the archive. So we're signing off.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.